My mouth is so dry, I can't. Lord help me. Today I will be speaking from my heart, from my soul. Forgive the sounds of saliva you'll hear in my mouth. I'm really nervous, so I have to keep drinking water. Bear with me, y'all. It's gonna sound like this the entire time. So my name is Laura. I am 27 right now. And I'm Catholic. Well, actually, I am a convert Catholic. I used to be Buddhist. So I want to start from the very beginning. When I was growing up, I grew up in a very Vietnamese Buddhist household. My mother especially is a devout Buddhist, and I was very open-minded when I was young, so I would go to temple with her, I would give up offerings. I even stayed with a few Buddhist nuns overnight, and they would train me and teach me on how to be a Buddhist nun. You know, I was considering shaving off all my hair, leaving home, being a full-on vegetarian because I thought Buddha was real. I thought what would lead to my, rather than salvation, my enlightenment was through Buddhism. And to add on to that, I grew up in a very happy household. I had both of my parents. I have an older brother. We were happy. I had a great relationship with my dad, with my mom. You know, I fought with my brother a lot, but we were close. But I never knew about God. I don't think I had any real interest in learning who he was. I would hear people in my class or maybe on car bumpers talking about Jesus Christ. I hear people go to church. I didn't understand that there were different denominations. I was a completely blank canvas when it came to Christianity. And it was around my transition between elementary school and middle school. Things started going downhill. Life hit my family really hard during the 2007-2008 recession. My dad lost his job, and the hardships got to my parents. It got to my dad, it got to my mom, it got to my brother, and it got to me. It's hard to go into every single detail that led up to me being the way that I was, but I started hearing a lot of words that broke my heart as a kid and shaped my entire belief of myself and the world. My core belief that my existence itself, that Laura was bad, because everything I knew about my family fell apart. My dad was consumed by his anger and sadness that I was no longer his daughter. My mom was consumed in all of this darkness too, that she couldn't bear to look at me. I'll mainly speak on my parents. I got shoved out of the house a lot. I got the police called on me a lot. I was sent to psychiatric hospitals a lot. I went to the ER a lot. And being so young, I was in this darkness, this void where there is no light. There is no hope, that no one was going to come and save me. I went and traveled with Buddhist nuns to see if they would help me. I moved in with other families. I went to different schools. I was very alone, and at the time I couldn't quite put the words into it, but I felt abandoned, and I felt that there was nowhere in this world for me. It was a terrible place that I was in. I was extremely suicidal. It was a constant battle every single day, every single moment. The way I viewed the world, the way I viewed people, it was just pitch dark, like black, like the entire world was engulfed in a shadow. And I felt very alone in the journey. I tried to do what everyone told me to do, which was to seek out psychotherapy, medication, and I'll get into that in another video about why I think they were more like stepping stones, but for long-term use, it's still not enough. I was very young when I was a sophomore in high school. I lived with another family, and I had one branch of my family that is Catholic. There was something desperate within me that I reached out to my cousin, and I asked him if I could go to church with him. They went to mass every Sunday. I didn't really know what that was. And I walked into this Vietnamese church, And one of the first things you see when you go inside of the chapel is a giant statue of Jesus. I think most Catholic churches have this. It's huge. It's like life-size, hanging from the ceiling. And when I saw that, I was very afraid. I think I was just afraid of statues at the time. Anything that, like wax figures, animatronics, taxidermies, it all freaked me out. And I'm like, this is a life-size man with nails in his hands and his feet, and he's just hanging on this wooden post. So I had all these questions. I was asking my cousin, like, why do you have this? Why do you say this? Why do you guys do that? When are we supposed to stand? When are we supposed to sit? And I should have known that was God drawing me close to him. I had no idea about anything. It's just the fact that I was open. Right. And my cousin, he was going through confirmation class, so I think he was also trying to figure out where his stance was with his faith too. So we were kind of like going through this together. And he told me there's this thing called adoration. They have the Eucharist out in the open in a separate chapel, and it's pretty quiet in there, and you can go and you can pray. And we were in the front pews. Is that what they're called? See, I don't even have everything together still. But I kneeled. And I prayed very earnestly. I said, God, I don't know you. I don't know if you're real, but my family is falling apart. Help me. Something along the lines of that. And these were the obstacles that I was facing. My parents, who I looked up to, who I grew up with, who I loved, became other people and were in the middle of going through a divorce. And they come to me, their child, who was in middle school, high school, asking, hey, should we get a divorce? We want you to make the decision. I wasn't close with my brother anymore. We had a pretty bad relationship. I didn't have any friends that I could rely on, because every time I went to school, I would have some kind of panic attack, I guess you would call it. I would panic, and it hit me real hard, so that kind of a panic attack. And I would hide in the restrooms. I would try to hide from going into the classrooms, and there were some classmates who had really snarky remarks. Some people even found out I went to these psychiatric hospitals, and a lot of rumors spread about me. So it wasn't good to be seen around me. At a young age, I had very intrusive, assaulting thoughts. I was very fearful for my life, but at the same time I was fighting the urge not to take it myself. And it's a bit hazy from there, because my cousin continued to reach out to me to invite me to some events, and I was still so open. I was very desperate. I was like, Buddha isn't cutting it out. No one in this life is cutting it out for me. You're my current hope. Well, I was like, I don't know where else I would have looked, but this is where I was looking. I was like, I don't know who Jesus is. I don't know who God is. I don't know anything about churches or their tradition. Miraculously, God revealed himself to me very early. I mean, you could say like being in my teens is early, late, whatever it is, but there was an event where students in confirmation, they would gather and anyone could really come, and I was young at the time, so I blended in pretty well. They had a priest. He brought the Eucharist and he would bring it around to everyone. We were all lined up in a big circle, and he would come by one of us, just kind of, that was Jesus. And I'm being told that this circle, this bread, this wafer is the literal body of Jesus Christ. So I said, okay, I'm unfamiliar with this, but I'm in front of God, so I might as well treat it that way. Yeah, I'm not saying everyone can do this, but I did, probably through God's grace. When it was coming around to people, I saw them falling, and they have catchers where people will catch them, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Something's going on. I didn't really think too much of it. I know a lot of the skeptics people have of these things, but like I said, I was young, I was open, and I was desperate. But when it came to me, it was such a long time ago that I don't remember what was going on in my head. Well, whatever happened wasn't in my head. I had no control of my body. I don't remember if I felt relaxed, relieved, or all the energy that I had leaving my body. I fell. I don't remember feeling anything. I just fell. And someone caught me. It's a little blurry. I'm like, oh, I'm crying. I'm crying a lot. I'm kind of like sobbing, like, there's sounds coming out of my mouth. I was like, this is a pretty crazy experience. I can't really explain it, but I'm so into it. I'm intrigued. I'm fascinated. So I kept going to adoration. I kept going to mass whenever I did or could. There's the mystical, charismatic side of the church, which works through the Holy Spirit, that I think a lot of Catholics haven't experienced, or people in general haven't experienced. But I was seeking out God, and he revealed himself in a way, and I encountered him in a way that was very supernatural, very healing. But I was like, this is kind of cool. I didn't know you were out here like this. But even then, I wasn't ready to convert to Catholicism. I was just open. I was like, this is nice to be able to pray, but I still have my freaking issues to deal with. I was still extremely depressed. I was extremely reliant on medication. I had friends that I was involved with. I would go and sneak out. I would go smoke weed. I would almost OD on acid. I would end up in the hospital again. I would try to take my own life. It was like a crazy constant battle. And through it all, I was holding onto this new friend, which was Jesus and my cousin. The next major part of the story, I went to some, I guess you could call it a retreat, with a Buddhist nun, and we went to Albuquerque, and we went to these mountains. We were praying in these giant temples. It was super quiet, super cool, very beautiful. But it wasn't until we sat in a coffee shop and she asked me, she's like, hey, there's a real ritual that we go through to make you like a genuine Buddhist, like a real thing where you really give your life to Buddha. And as she was saying all of these things, alarms were going off in my brain, like, no, this isn't where you belong, this isn't it. She's like, like, she's sitting in front of me like this, like face to face. She's like, we can go through the whole process together, I'm gonna help you. And I'm looking at her and I'm just like, no, this isn't for me. I can't accept this. This is not where I belong. I belong with God. I belong to him. So while she was talking to me, I'm just being like polite. I'm not saying anything out loud. But that was the conviction I needed to convert, to go through RCIA. Near the end of 2017, I started RCIA. I was going to this small community Chinese Catholic church. I was introduced to some people there through my cousin because he's friends with them. And they didn't have anyone in the English RCIA. They didn't even have a real tutor. They just kind of had someone who volunteered, bless his soul. He's like, so how's it going? What should we learn today? It was like, I just had to go. I had to go there every Sunday after mass, and no one was teaching me really anything. I was just kind of there. I just had to show up. They're like, you gotta show up and then we can like know for sure you want to be Catholic. So I was like, okay. So that's how it was. But from, I think it was around August all the way to Easter Vigil, I was having nightmares every single night, like very demonic, very gruesome, very scary nightmares. And it was getting to me. And I was hearing these intrusive thoughts of, kill yourself, you're not good enough, you're bad, it would be better if you would, like all of these very wicked thoughts. I don't even want to say it on camera because I don't want to give anyone these ideas. I don't want to spread these lies that were fed to me. And I really almost gave up. I was like, I can't do this. It's not because I don't love Jesus. It's not because I don't love God. It's not because I don't want to be Catholic. I was like, I'm being tortured and no one understands this. No one knows what's going on. What I was experiencing, no one could understand and no one could empathize with it. And I ran away from home. I had the intention once again to end my life, but as I was going through this process, I was praying intently. I was telling God, I don't want to die. I don't want to die, but it keeps feeling like something's trying to kill me. A very good person in my life who also converted actually prayed for me the day before I was supposed to be baptized for Easter Vigil and confirmed and received the Eucharist for the very first time. She's like, I hear all of the nasty things they're saying to you. And I'm like, yeah, like you don't get it. I'm being bullied right now by demons. She's like, yeah. And like God is like truly allowing you to be tested in such a way, because in the end it's like, am I gonna choose him? But anyways, I made it through. Once I got confirmed, once I got baptized, lots of tears of relief came. I was like, I made it. And I stopped having a lot of those dark thoughts. I stopped having these nightmares and I was officially Catholic. Yay! So in 2018 Easter Vigil, I became part of the Catholic Church. I can proudly say, yeah, I'm Catholic. I didn't have to sit in the pews and watch everyone walk up and get the bread without me. I was sad that I couldn't go to confession and for it to like truly do its thing. I couldn't receive the sacraments because I wasn't Catholic. So after that, I was like, I can receive what everyone else is receiving. And then you think like that's it. That's all there was after the conversion. And yeah, mama, everything's great. I'm with God now. No, things got worse. It got so much worse. I was still battling the darkness of the soul, right? This depression was bad. Okay, for some reason, someone said, "Oh yeah, that's Laura. She's like very depressed and suicidal." I was like, "This is what people know me for." There's too much to say, but I was introduced to the side of the church. I understand now why people leave the church. I understand why people feel persecuted and discriminated in their own church, because I started going through that. There were the church-dwelling people who were just not very welcoming of my way of thinking and my own relationship with Christ. They're telling me how it should be, but even they haven't developed a relationship with Christ. So I was going through it, still felt different, still didn't feel like I belonged, still didn't have a place to call home. It just sucks so bad because I felt that I had started my life late. I do not drive. I don't have a driver's license. I do not work. I sold some stickers on Etsy at some art markets, but people still like to tell me, "You're unemployed, you don't work." So I'm like, okay, I'm living with my mom in my cute little room at 27. So it may seem like life isn't so great, but let me tell you, I didn't have quite a fallout with the church. I had a fallout with the community, and I started wrestling with God a lot. I was like, I believe you're real, but what is it that you want from me? What is it that I can do for you? And it wasn't easy to go to that next step because I believed that. So silly of me. Deep down, all of the things that I had gone through were still there. I didn't fully let him heal me yet. He was healing me, but I still thought I wasn't good enough for God. I wasn't good enough for anyone. And more terrible things were happening to me. I didn't blame God for a lot of the tribulations that I went through. I kept blaming myself that I was falling, that I was failing, I was giving into temptation, I was giving into sin, I was failing God. All of these things kept happening to me, even after I started to believe in God, even after I was baptized, even after I received the Eucharist, even if I became Catholic. Life was still really hard. The relationships I had with everyone were still hard, but God made a lot of personal promises with me in prayer that I think people don't believe. I was very desperate to hear him, to know him. I've experienced what it's like for him to love me. In my own relationship with Jesus, he said a lot of things to me throughout the years, through the Holy Spirit, okay? There's so much that I cannot fit into one video. The journey that I had with the Father, like so much stuff has happened that it's like more is to come, and I can't even fathom that, okay? But whoever I was, that is gone. I am made anew through Jesus Christ. I now have the conviction to speak of the good news and say very confidently that God is real, that Jesus Christ is real, that he died and rose again and has ascended into heaven and is seated at the right hand of the Father. I had to go through what I went through. I had to learn how to love God and to love myself. And I had a lot of fallouts where I was like, I don't want to pray anymore. I'm not going to Mass anymore. I'm not going to talk to Jesus anymore. I'm going to give up. I'm going to sin all I want. That has been going on since the beginning, since 2018 that I was confirmed, all the way to now. And I started watching The Chosen because of my boyfriend. I was like, I'm not really gonna watch this. It seems like another thing that isn't gonna work out. But he's like, nah, maybe this is more digestible to me because he's a non-believer. And I started watching it, and Catholics and whoever can say whatever they want about it, but Jonathan Rumi was chosen by God himself to play as Jesus. Jesus chose him to play Jesus. You talk all that smack you want. It is what it is. And the show, I've heard a lot of testimonies. I can say for once, like, give it a go. You get to meditate on the life of Jesus Christ and his apostles, whether it's biblically accurate or not, because I know there's a lot of creative liberties that they're taking, but the main focus is that Jesus Christ was walking on this earth and that he was wonderful. So I started focusing and praying more, and it's been so hard to make the choice of choosing an art career, choosing to be a podcaster, choosing to get a job, choosing to get married, all of these decisions, but it was always just me. I focused on me for so long that I was like, it's always been about you, Jesus. I am not fulfilled. I am not joyful. I am not at peace. I am restless. If everything that I do isn't for you. I thought I had to be a nun. I thought I had to be someone great. I thought I had to be loved by many. I thought I had to be someone to give glory to God. No, I'm like, you can start now. And that's what I'm doing. When I was born and when I was growing up, I never knew who Jesus was. But he always had me in mind, and he chose me. He picked me out. And even when I became part of his flock and left, he still went and grabbed me, put me back in. I used to hear someone say once, Jesus finds you, he doesn't let you leave. I think yearly, monthly, daily, he converts my heart. I am convicted to do everything for him. I want to speak in order to glorify him in his kingdom through the things I draw. And I've been afraid for a very long time to put myself out here because I'm like, I'm a nobody. I'm not a theologian. I'm not the best philosopher. I'm not even respected within my own community. Okay, I'm bottom of the barrel out of everyone. I'm gonna use my gift of talking a lot, of feeling a lot, of drawing. Okay, everything that makes me me, I will present that to the world to glorify God. Because every step I take and every breath I take brings glory to his kingdom. I'll say it loud and clear now, because I think whatever friends and family I have left, I will say what I want. I will glorify God, and it doesn't matter what you think of me and what you say about me, because it's not about me or any of us, it's about him. So yes, I am here to challenge my fellow brothers and sisters, Catholics, Protestants, atheists, non-believers, whatever church you reside in, whatever church you don't reside in. And just like Jesus, who was a carpenter who created, I like to draw, I love art, I will create beautiful things in his name, and I will also try to make a way for that as well, because the world is filled with things that are not of God, and it hasn't been sitting well with me. So yeah, I wasn't really working with a script, but I've always loved Jesus since the moment I stepped into adoration, I think, and he's always loved me. I was just afraid to be vocal about it, but now I would like to spend every moment that I have on these social media platforms to glorify him while I'm here. And I thank you for coming by and watching this video, listening to my story. It's not very coherent, but he converted a stubborn and broken heart beyond repair. Only God could repair. And yeah, I've been really inspired by a lot of the people I watch on YouTube, and I will put some recommendations down. There's a lot of, I wouldn't call them Catholic apologists, there's just some people who give really good advice. Through being themselves, they glorify God, and that's what I'm trying to do. I am but a small fragment, a unique image of God. Maybe, hopefully, you'll see God somewhere on this channel through me. Through him. Glory be to God, King of the universe. Peace be with you. God love you. God bless you. I will see you in my next video. Thank you. Bye-bye. I'm so sweaty. So sweaty, man. Sweaty.